All right, let's dive in. When we think about the big entertainment giants, we usually focus on the obvious stuff, right? Movies, theme parks, streaming. But what if I told you one of the quieter parts of a major player is actually this incredibly high margin growth engine, sort of hiding in plain sight? We're
Yeah.
talking about Disney Cruise Line today. And look, this is way more than just fancy family vacations. It's really a strategic marvel for anyone tracking data, marketing, and, well, the whole entertainment scene. DCL is kind of a perfect case study, how they use their IP, build loyalty. It's fascinating. We're going to unpack why it's not just some niche thing, but a seriously powerful part of their business.
Yeah, it's amazing how often it gets overlooked, isn't it? But you're absolutely spot on. Disney Cruise Line is this really unique crossroads. The physical experience of the cruise itself, blended with the sheer power of their own characters and stories, their IP. It's just a great example of how a legacy entertainment company keeps innovating, not just by chasing tech, but by doubling down on its core strengths in really smart, profitable ways.
So let's talk about the scale here, because the numbers are, well, they're pretty staggering. Sources are estimating, around $2.5 billion in revenue just for the fiscal year ending last September.
Billion, yeah. That's a huge number for what some might see as a sideline.
And the really interesting part,
Yeah.
their occupancy rates. They're not just good, they consistently blow past basically all their competitors.
Mm-hmm.
When you see that year after year, that signals something more than just popularity. It points to, serious profitability and massive demand.
Absolutely. It tells you they've carved out a premium position that others just can't seem to match, not just in cruising, but maybe even compared to other high-end entertainment options.
So what's the secret sauce there? Why are people flocking to these ships and paying premium prices?
Well, the why behind those numbers. It's not just pixie dust, though I'm sure that helps. But really, if you break it down, it comes down to, I think, two main things. One, incredibly high guest satisfaction. People just love the experience. And two, this amazing loyalty program they've built, the Castaway Club. It drives repeat business like you wouldn't believe.
Right, the Castaway Club. I
Yeah.
saw they even have this elite pearl status.
Yeah, for people who've sailed 25 times or more. 25.
Wow. That's that's dedication. Most people don't take 25 vacations, let alone cruises on the same line.
Exactly. And it's not just individuals. It becomes multi-generational. Grandparents take their kids, then those kids grow up and bring their kids. That kind of loyalty passed down. That's like the holy grail for any brand. It locks in revenue, lets them keep prices high because the demand is just baked in.
It really makes you wonder, though, what is it about that specific experience? What makes it so uniquely Disney? And maybe more importantly, why haven't other big entertainment companies, even ones with strong IP, managed to copy this?
It feels like they've built this, I don't know, fortress at sea.
I think a huge part of it is how they just seamlessly weave the IP, the stories into everything. It's not just a cruise ship with Disney characters.
No, definitely not.
Each ship is like a floating storyverse,
Oh.
right? You've got Marvel Day at Sea. You can grab a drink in the Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge.
Mm-hmm. Or see a full Broadway-style Frozen show.
Exactly. Villains nights, themed restaurants, character interactions you literally can't get anywhere else. It feels like living inside their movies for a few days.
And that's where Disney's unique advantage really shines. It's not just a vacation, like you said. It's this multi-day, fully immersive narrative experience. You're not just watching the story, you're kind of participating in it. And honestly, who else could really deliver that at this level? They own the content outright. They've got decades of operational know-how from the parks. And they tie it all together, the movies, Disney, plus Gree, the destinations.
It's a whole ecosystem.
Precisely, a closed loop. That's
Yeah.
why DCL is such a unicorn, that deep integration and control over the whole experience. It's incredibly powerful.
And you do see other companies trying similar things, right?
Right.
Universal's building Epic Universe. Netflix is testing those Netflix house ideas.
Sure, the idea of physical IP experiences is definitely catching on. Warner Bros. Has the Harry Potter tours, which are hugely popular.
Right. They all see the value in bringing IP to life. But none of them are running a premium cruise line where they control everything, soup to nuts, like Disney does.
Exactly.
It really highlights that competitive moat they have. It seems incredibly difficult for anyone else to replicate this specific cruise model. Why is the cruise format itself so key?
That's a great question. I think it's the combination of the complexity of running a cruise line plus the demands of deep IP integration. For others, usually they'd have to license the IP, right? Which adds cost, limits control. Or they build a fixed theme park land, huge investment, one location.
Mhm.
But a cruise ship, it's this self-contained world that moves. Disney owns the IP, runs the ship, manages the crew, designs the experience, handles the booking, everything. They don't need partners for the core operation. They are the operator, so they can ensure every single detail, from the cabin TV showing Disney movies to the character breakfast reinforces their brand and stories.
Total vertical integration.
Exactly. On a floating resort that sails globally, trying to build that from scratch with someone else's IP or without Disney's park operations background, it's a massive, massive challenge. Very expensive, very complex.
It's a powerful advantage. Okay, so get the magic, the IP integration.
Yeah.
But how do they actually fill these ships consistently? How do they keep that demand engine running? Let's talk about the marketing, the data behind the bookings,
Okay.
because it sounds pretty sophisticated. Our sources, looking at things like modeling, figuring out which marketing channels actually drive sales and other data, they can get a really interesting picture.
Okay.
It looks like a full 50%. Half of all bookings come from just built-in demand and that castaway loyalty we talked about.
Wow, half. That's incredible. Speaks volumes about the loyalty.
Right. Then about 25% is driven by digital channels. Think influencer marketing, paid social media ads, search.
The modern marketing playbook?
Yep. Traditional media, TV ads, print, billboards, that still pulls about 10%. Another 10% comes directly from franchise hype people booking because it's a Marvel cruise or a Star Wars experience.
Tapping into that specific fandom makes sense.
And the last 5%, that's driven by specific deals and incentives. Small, but still a piece.
That digital piece, the 25%, is really worth digging into. It shows they're not just relying on the past. You see TikTok, Instagram, all that hashtag Disney Cruise content. It's clearly creating new buzz, especially with Millennial and Gen Z parents.
Yeah, I've seen tons of those videos.
And apparently cruise creators, just regular people sharing their trips, are now a core part of Disney's whole influencer strategy.
So they're actively working with them.
Seems like it. It's not just organic stuff happening, it's a deliberate move. They understand the power of that authentic user-generated feel. It shows they really get how to reach newer audiences on the platforms where they actually spend their time. Very savvy.
It's a really smart mix, isn't it? Leveraging decades of built-up loyalty while also running these sharp, targeted digital campaigns to bring in new generations.
It's balancing the long game with immediate tactics.
So looking ahead, they're clearly not just maintaining, they're expanding. New ships are obviously a huge part of that growth plan.
Definitely. Big investments.
Let's talk about the Disney Adventure. That one sets sail next year, 2025, right?
Yeah.
And it's based in Singapore.
Yeah, that's a big move.
It feels very strategic. It's not just another ship. It's about cracking open that whole Southeast Asian market.
Yeah.
Huge potential there with the growing middle class.
Absolutely. Massive travel demand growth in that region.
And it's going to be their biggest ship ever, serving over 6,700 guests.
That's the plan. It's a major capacity increase and a significant step into a new geographical market for them.
And then hot on its heels, you've got the Disney Destiny launching in 2026. Back in Florida, this one.
Right, but with a twist, this new heroes and villains theme.
Which sounds like it's aimed squarely at maybe slightly older kids, tweens, even adults who are really into the IP.
Exactly. It's smart market segmentation. Recognizing that not everyone wants the classic princess experience, it broadens the appeal.
Yeah, definitely.
And these two ships together, they're not small additions. The expectation is they could drive something like 30% to 50% top-line growth for the cruise line in the next few years.
Wow, 30 to 50%. That's huge growth.
It really shows they're thinking ahead, targeting specific groups and regions, not just adding more rooms, so to speak.
Precisely. These aren't just capacity bumps. They're strategic plays targeting new markets and demographics with tailored experiences. So let's circle back to the guests themselves. Our sources call them high lifetime value fans. What really makes them so valuable beyond just buying that initial cruise ticket?
It's a few things layered together. It shows how well they've optimized the whole model. First, like you said, people pay thousands up front, often way in advance. That's great cash flow and de-risks things for Disney.
Right, money in the bank.
Then on board, the spending continues. High margin stuff. Special dining, spa treatments, tons of exclusive merchandise.
That lightsaber you can build or the themed cocktails.
Exactly. Things you can only get there. And critically, a lot of guests rebook their next cruise while they're still on the current one. They offer incentives, loyalty perks.
Locking in future revenue right away.
Yep. It cements that relationship. And here's a key detail you might not think about. No casinos.
Ah, right. Unlike most other big cruise lines.
It's not just a family-friendly choice, it's smart business. It means every single dollar a guest spends on board, whether it's on a goofy hat or a fancy dinner, goes straight into Disney's pockets. No split with a casino operator.
Good point. It keeps the ecosystem completely closed.
Totally. It's a controlled, optimized revenue stream from start to finish.
So it really is far more than just selling a cruise. It's about building and nurturing this deep, ongoing relationship with a very valuable customer base, turning them into lifelong fans who keep coming back and spending within the Disney universe.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. Disney Cruise Line. Maybe not the flashiest part of the empire, but clearly it's this powerful, multifaceted growth engine. It amplifies the brand, it creates these incredibly loyal fans, and it operates as a high-margin ecosystem. It really is a masterclass in leveraging IP.
Yeah, my final thought is just, the whole entertainment world is scrambling to figure out how to turn IP into real-world experiences effectively. And Disney, with the cruise line, they're not just ahead, they're sailing in completely open water. Nobody else is close in this specific arena. They figured out how to turn stories into memories, and as the numbers show, how to turn those memories into serious, reliable profit. It's a remarkably effective model.
So for you listening, as you think about the future of entertainment, about how data shapes strategy, maybe consider this. How can a business that looks kind of traditional, like a cruise line, actually be the ultimate expression of an IP-driven, data-smart empire? And it makes you wonder, what other niche parts of these big media companies might be quietly gearing up for their own data and experience-fueled transformation? What could be the next hidden gem?